Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 6 of What If Naruto was personally trained by Kurama after leaving the village. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, stay in tune for the brand new episode of What If Naruto had cosmic energy over on Anime King 3. And I'm also going to be posting a new episode of What If Naruto had a new dream that will change everything. So stay tuned for that as well, guys. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Making family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off as Naruto was staying with the Inuzakas, as Hana led him straight towards where his other teammates were. Going there, she decided to show Naruto about her dog whistle, as Naruto was curious. Blowing it, she was surprised when he dropped to the ground holding onto his ears. As he told her his ears were rather sensitive, that made her rather curious because these things were in tune to her dogs and her chakra, so that was rather strange. Making his way there, as Tayuya was angry at him for being so late, as Gar simply said that she was worried, as that made her blush as she went away. As they decided to get some sleep, both Naruto and Tayuya sleeping together as usual, but the next morning something strange happened. He was a teenage boy, and things that happened to guys waking up in the morning, it happened to him, as he went to Gara to try and find out what was going on. As Gara had no idea, he was the one that read those books, as Naruto started to think, as he understood what happened, as it made him blush crimson. Tayuya was also feeling the same way as well, as she was a teenage girl, and hormones and everything. And she already had a talk with Temari, but it was getting worse the more she slept with Naruto. With that, the group got themselves ready. As they made their way, as they arrived, they saw all of their challenges that they were going to face, as the students in there started to talk until everyone had to quiet down when Ibiki came in the room, as they did the first part of the test with Gara, using his sand to help Naruto and Tayuya. With that out of the way, they made their way towards the forest of death, as Anko tried to sneak up on Naruto, only for him to vanish and appear behind her, as Tayuya punched him in his arm for showing off his real speed. He simply laughed it off as they made their way inside the forest of death. As they made their way, they came upon the scene of a grass Kunoichi beating a Konoha team, a pink-haired girl, a boy with shades and a hood, and another boy with black hair. It was the Uchiha. As the man removed the face that he was wearing to show that he was none other than Orochimaru, Gara was livid as he attacked Orochimaru with ferocity, but Orochimaru was not a Sannin for nothing as he evaded Gara's strikes. As Orochimaru was about to implant the curse mark on Sasuke, but Tayuya was there as he ended up beating her in the neck. It was a setback, but it didn't matter. She will come to him for power soon if she survived. Knowing that Sasuke, he couldn't place a mark on him for now, seeing that he already used up the opportunity, he decided to flee. As Naruto grabbed onto Tayuya and rushed off, as he had to get her to the tower, as none of them had the scroll. He found Kabuto's team as Naruto went furious, entering the fox mode as he attacked them, crushing their skull with a kick. Kabuto was the one to defend as he ended up puncturing Naruto's chest with his hand that was covered in chakra, the chakra scalpels. But Naruto quickly recovered as he blasted away Kabuto and got the scroll. As he rushed off, he arrived at the tower. The scrolls unraveled to show Kakashi. As Kakashi saw what was going on, as he quickly went to go through hand signs, sealing the curse mark. As Naruto ended up passed out, as the shock of the day and the event and everything, the stress, catching up to him. So yeah guys, so basically that's what left off. You guys can switch across to the place and check it out for yourself. So what is to begin this new episode? Gara was pacing around the room as his two friends were unconscious at the moment, as Kakashi had finished sealing the curse mark, as Tayuya had a 3 totem spiral on her neck with the sealing that Kakashi placed over it. He hated looking at the mark. He felt disappointed how he lost his focus and he was unable to protect his friend. With a sigh, he looked towards Naruto. He knew that he felt bad, but Naruto would feel much worse. When he saw and understand what the bastard snake did to her, he will feel guilty, and that guilt usually turned into rage. Gaara had asked Kakashi what he was doing at the time, but he was ignored, as he needed utter concentration for this. It would be better if he told them once all of them were up and about. This left Gaara walking up and down in the room, rather frustrated, as he had to keep himself calm though. But Gaara then heard a groan as he glanced over as Naruto rubbed his eyes. The first thought that came to Naruto's mind was, no red here. After all, the only time when him and Tayuya did not sleep together was when they were on missions and they had to rotate guard duty shift, so it was rather strange. And he was in Konoha, right? But then it all came rushing back. His head snapped around, searching the small room for her. He sighed in relief when he saw her on the bed, as he then saw Gaara walking over to him, concern on his face. How do you feel, Gaara asked. Naruto smiled of the concern in his friend's voice. Fine, just a little sore. Gaara nodded as he understood. As Naruto turns attention to Tayuya. How is she? Did we make it back in time? How is the mark? Is she gonna be okay? Gaara took a moment to take in the rush of questions, as he allowed Naruto to calm down. Tayuya is fine. She's merely unconscious. We made it in time for one of the lead Jonin to perform a counter seal on the mark. I do not know the specifics of what he did, but we will be informed shortly. As for your last question, I don't know, said Gaara. I think I can help with that. The both of them turned at the voice. As Naruto cursed himself, he was so focused on Tayuya, as his senses was, well, not really focused on anything else. Now that he was alert, he could smell the presence of the Jonin that just sunshine into the room. You, said Naruto, as he pointed at the silver-haired Jonin. As the man looked amused as he pointed to himself. Me? He said it with a strange eye smile that Naruto couldn't really work out. It made him curious what was under that mask of his. But he shrugged off those thoughts. He had more impressive matters to worry about at the moment. Tayuya. That was all that Naruto could say at the moment, as Kakashi understood well. After all, he more than anyone else understand a concern for a teammate. Your friend will be fine, Naruto. Calm down, he said. As Naruto's mind completely escaped to the fact that Kakashi knew his name, despite he never telling him his name. What's gonna happen to her? And that single eye, the man looked thoughtful for a moment. I think it's better to tell all of you when she wakes up. Don't worry though, that should be any time, right? What the hell is up with my head? Said Tayuya. As they all turned as Tayuya was sitting up, as she was rubbing her shoulder where the mark was. Did that old bitch, Chiyu, convince me to drink sake again, she asked, as her head was literally burning. Naruto sighed in relief. Although he was slightly concerned, she thought that she was still in the sand village. Did she forget everything? As she blinked a few times and shook her head, as she turned her gaze towards the 3 ninjas in the room looking at her. What the hell are you guys looking at, she said. Then it all hit her. The encounter in the forest, Orochimaru jumping in front of the Uchiha kid when the snake prick was going to attack, and then waking up here. She tried to remember how she got here, but all she saw was the images of the forest rushing by at tremendous speed while her neck was burning. She rubbed the spot as the ear was a bit silky. Oi, shithead, what's going on, she asked. Naruto smiled as he was glad to see that she hasn't changed. Just before he could say anything, Kakashi cut in. I think it would be best if I explain that, he said, as Naruto turned to look at the man. While you two were unconscious, we found out about Orochimaru's infiltration in the exams. It would appear that he placed a curse mark on your friend here. And wait, hold up, Cyclops. What did you say? Kakashi sighed, not much for the nickname. But that wasn't a problem. He was hoping to skirt around the subject. Curse mark. It's a type of fuinjutsu we believe Orochimaru developed to enhance his subordinates. He saw that she wasn't satisfied by the answer. If you want the full explanation, ask Uncle. Tayuya and Naruto were confused. What did the proctor of second exam had to do with this? Anyway, like I was saying, I managed to seal the mark before any damaging effects could take hold, said Kakashi. Wait, what damaging effects? Asked Tayuya. Well, as long as you don't use a seal, there's nothing to worry about. I thought you said you seal the thing, she asked. Kakashi became serious. Not exactly. The seal I put on merely neutralized the aspect, the power and the effect that it has on you is still there. Using the mark will override the seal and bring back those corrupted capabilities. The strength of a seal I place is entirely relying on your will not to use the mark. Should your will falter, the mark will take a hold of you more and more. By this point, both Naruto and Tayuya were pale. They couldn't tell if Gaara had the same reaction because he was already pale. Then just get this thing off me, she said. If it was that simple, we would have already done so, said Kakashi. My knowledge in Fuinjutsu is limited. Even a seal master would have trouble without Orochimaru's original note on the seal. Even Master Jiraiya of the Sun was unable to remove the cursed mark, said Kakashi. You're wrong. Kakashi turned towards Naruto who spoke up. Tayuya will get through this. We always get through things together, he said. As Naruto turned towards Tayuya, pure concern in his face. I promise, no matter what, I'll get that thing off you, he said. As he stood up and gave her a big, wide smile. And you know me, he said. I never go back on my promises. On the outside, she might look irritated by his over-the-line display, but on the inside, she felt warm, almost like small butterflies are dancing in her stomach. As Kakashi looked at Naruto, seeing the Minato in him shine through, and he then turned towards a redhead. Redhead, why didn't I see it before? There really is a lot of you in your son, Sensei. As touching as this moment is, you have other things to worry about right now. Naruto turned towards Kakashi. The next round of Chunin exams are about to begin, upstairs. Time skip. The group made their way upstairs. Naruto and Tayuya complaining. Why would they hold the thing all the way up here? Why didn't they just hold on the bottom floor? On the inside though, Naruto was happy as she was acting like her normal self, as he was glad to see the curse mark wasn't really affecting her. Gaara just remained passive as usual, as he didn't really say anything. The group was quite surprised when Kakashi said that the exam was about to begin, seeing that this portion was supposed to last 5 days, but it seems like all the teams had made it, and the rest, well, they haven't. So they were just gonna begin this right now. Naruto was surprised to see that they were, well, about 6 teams. He didn't realize that Temari and Conqueror were not here. As he nudged Gaara, I wouldn't worry. Even if they fail in this portion of the exams, they can handle themselves well enough. Naruto nodded, as he wondered though, did Orochimaru try to go after their friends? As Tayuya saw him thinking about it. Stop sweating, shithead. You know Temari probably underestimated some shrimp of a genin and paid for it. Naruto smiled once again seeing Tayuya acting like Tayuya. Despite the both of them sharing a sisterly bond, there was always some animosity between two of the girls. It was like they, well, always try to one-up one another, no matter what. As Naruto checked out the other teams that made it through curiously. Strangely enough, the team that Orochimaru was taking on was there as well. The Uchiha looked rather haggard, and the boy, well, he looked as stoic as Gaara. He also noticed the Sound team had made it through as well. There were a few other Konoha team. One with a tall, bored-looking kid, a blonde girl with blue eyes, and then there was a chubby one, as his hands were never too far away from food. There was also Hinata and Kiba's team. As Naruto smiled at that, he was glad that they made it through. Then there was another team, a boy, the same eyes as Hinata, a boy with rather large eyebrows, and a girl with her hairstyle made her look like a panda. The Hokage then arrived as he started to give a speech, but Naruto wasn't really listening to what he said, still lost in his thoughts about the event in the forest. Their third proctor then came in. The man looked like he was dying, with pale bags under his eyes, and he was also coughing. As the man told them about the preliminary rounds, many of them growled in exhaustion, seeing that they weren't given much rest. As the man explained before pointing towards the board as it went through name, Ino Yamanaka, as he saw the blonde girl move, so that was her. And her opponent would be Sakura Haruno. as the others made their way towards the catwalks on either side. Naruto noticed that the pink-haired girl here was shorter than before. But other than that, he just went to sit down as he meditated, keeping his eyes closed. He kept his ears perked and open if his name was called, but other than that, he blocked everything else out. Tayuya smirked as she saw Naruto meditating. He told her once that if you did this before a fight, it could help a lot, being in the right mindset. But she was an instinct fighter, so she didn't really get it. But he always did this if he got the chance. As she glanced towards Gaara, he was unusually quiet. Yes, he was always quiet, but now it was just more. She wondered if it was because of her getting the curse mark, or because of him meeting his father and murderer. Perhaps he was just being a moody kid. She smirked at that Gaara was always moody. Well, not around her or Naruto. She then turned her head towards the fight, and she was beyond disappointed as she wondered how these girls even passed their genuine exam. Konoha must have made it easy for them. Too easy. As she thought about the sand genuine tests, they wouldn't even last a minute. She then noticed a bored-looking kid eye her up. As she turned her head, "See something you like, pineapple head." The boy muttered something that she couldn't hear, while his fat friend just laughed at him. Tayuya plopped herself right down beside Naruto. As she knew he could hear her, he could probably hear everything going on inside this room. He said, "What a drag." She was a bit startled as Naruto suddenly spoke, but he was smirking. "So what? Like I care what some damn coward leaf ninja says." As she scowled as he didn't say anything, she scooted a bit closer to him. It was rather cold in this room, and once again he was being her personal heater. She turned her head back to the fight as the two girls knocked each other out, resulting in the match ended in a draw. As she then turned towards the board, hoping that she was next so she could just get this over. But it wasn't her, it was a pineapple boy that was staring at her. And now she saw his name was Shikamaru versus Kin. Saki, the female member of the Sound Village Genin. Meanwhile, that was going on. "So what do you think about this so far?" said Naruto as he looked at the fox in front of him. He didn't know she was doing it on purpose, but over the years she seemed to have grown with him. She was a lot smaller, but now she has grown into a teenager. Well, if a fox could look like a teenager, that is what she would look like. "What do you mean, about the exams of your girlfriend?" asked Kyuubi. As Naruto did not say anything about that, as she was always trying to rile him up, always using Tayuya as a target as well. "Both," said Naruto. She brought one of her tails in front of her and scratched under her chin. As she was thinking, "I would say that you perform well so far, but do not underestimate anyone here." As she's always giving him that advice. Other than that, the encounter with this Orochimaru character is not rather coincidental, she said. As Naruto looked at her, waiting for her to continue. "What do you mean?" he asked, seeing that she wasn't going to say anything. On what, she asked. Naruto sighed as he saw her smirking. "Oddly coincidental, Orochimaru," he said. "Well, I was merely pointing out it was strange for you to encounter him again, especially when it would suit him better to keep anyone that was able to recognize him far away from him. He doesn't seem like the type to make mistakes, to believe that you would not be entering the exam, so he wanted us to be there," said Naruto. Perhaps not. I do not pretend to know the inner workings of the man, but he seemed like the time to have plans upon plans. If I were to give it a guess, I would say that he was gauging your abilities." "Well, he seemed a lot concerned with Uchiha Kid," said Naruto. The Kyuubi nodded. "Yes, obviously, he was the target for the curse mark." Naruto scowled at that. It wasn't exactly the Uchiha fault, but he was the one that Tayuya was protecting while she got that mark. "What do you know about that, by the way?" "The mark?" Naruto nodded. "Less than I would like to admit. The human practice of Fuinjutsu always confined me. Perhaps if I had paid more attention, I wouldn't be here in this situation with you, huh, kid?" she said as she looked around. Naruto simply shrugged. "So there's nothing you can do to help Tayuya?" he asked. She shook her head no, as Naruto heard the Sound Ninja head hit the wall. Both Kyuubi and Naruto waited a moment to hear who would be next. It was Zaku and Shinobermi. Time skip. Tayuya was banging her head against the wall. As the matches were really boring, the second match was a bit better than the others. She never knew that there were jutsu that can control people's shadow. And then the bug guy ended the match rather quickly. The fat kid was knocked out by Dosu in seconds. It was then that Naruto got up rather quickly, as he stretched his limbs and cracked his neck. "So, what did she say?" Naruto held out his hand and helped Tayuya up. as she held onto his hand a few seconds longer. Even when she got to her feet. Sorry. Tayuya didn't know anything about it, said Naruto. She looked back down, annoyed, and sad by the news. But he raised his hand and lifted her chin back up. Hey, you know I meant it, right? When I said I'm gonna get that thing off you. As she relaxed a bit. But she turned her head, hiding a blush. Whatever she said. Naruto was about to say something else when he heard that squeak coming from his left. As he saw Neji Hyuga versus Hinata Hyuga. Yes, he was right about the relationship. As Naruto turned to see the match going on down there, as the both of them had their Byakugan activated, scanning each other. And then it began, as the both of them started a clash. Chakra emitted from their palms. As Naruto looked around, as he spotted the woman with red eyes from before, he made his way over. You're Hinata-sensei, am I right? The woman turned and looked down. Yes, I am Kurama UI. Naruto nodded politely, as she smiled a bit. Could you explain your style? I understand it worked off of some chakra manipulation, but other than that, as he left the sentence hanging, Kurama merely smirked, always happy to inform someone of her prized student abilities. It is called the Gentle Fist. It is your family style, relying on their Byakugan. As Naruto nodded, their ability allowed them to see the chakra system of a person and allowed them to attack the chakra point in your body. They can even block them with chakra-infused blows. Naruto smiled as he looked down at the deadly display that two of them were putting on. 8 32 palms. As Hinata rushed towards Neji, her hands a blur, with each time she upped the number, doubling it by 2. Neji did his best to defend against the blows, but they came so fast. A few of them broke through his defenses. Rotation, he said as he spun. Hinata was too close as she was sent sail and smash right into the concrete wall. As Neji stopped the dome, as he looked towards her, he smirked. While their Jayugen is impressive, cousin, you should know better than to think that you can defeat me. We all have our fates, and yours was to be defeated here by me. He said it in a rather disrespectful manner. It was like he was spitting the words. It made Naruto frown a bit, as he wondered how the boy could be so cold to his own family. But despite losing, Hinata fought with ferocity and determination. It seems like what she told him about stepping up her training was actually true. He still couldn't believe that he had something to do with that, after all. He never knew at the time. As Naruto turned his attention back to the board, as he was wondering why his name hasn't come up yet, he then saw the next names. Sasuke Uchiha versus Kiba Inuzaka. He smirked a bit. He was curious to see how Kiba fought, and wondered how it would compare against the Uchiha Taijutsu that he saw in the forest. As the two of them jumped down, Kiba looked rather cocky, and it seemed to piss off the Uchiha even more. The moment Hayate began the match, Sasuke launched himself forward with a fury of fists that Kiba struggled to dodge. Eventually, he slipped under Sasuke's legs. As he moved away, it gave him enough time to perform his man-beast clone transformation. But Sasuke took on the both of them, and he was confident as well that he could defeat the both of them by himself. But Akamaru and Kiba were working in perfect sync. They were fast and striking quick. That continued for at least a minute, until Kiba took a moment to rest after so many fast-paced attacks. Sasuke took advantage of this as he spun through a hand sign. He released a massive fireball from his mouth. As everyone looked over in awe, as the fireball was large, it connected where Kiba was, as Naruto wondered if he was okay. Suddenly, burst out of a smoke, fang over fang. The both of them spin towards him as Sasuke had a leap as it tore into his shirt. The moment they hit the ground, they ricochet right back towards Sasuke. But it seemed like the attack was chakra consuming. After 30 seconds, the both of them came to a stop. Sasuke stood there with a few cuts from the fang over fang that grazed him. But for the most part, Sasuke looked annoyed as he launched himself towards Kiba again. Kiba tried to hold his own, but everyone could see that he was getting exhausted, as he ended up dropping his guard for the slightest. Sasuke delivered a brutal kick to his side and several punches to his face. At this point, Kiba was barely standing as Sasuke pulled back his fist, only to wince in pain. As everyone was confused until they looked down as Akamaru was bitten into Sasuke's leg, blood leaking down. Sasuke brought up his other foot and kicked Akamaru as the dog slammed into the wall. Akamaru! Kiba rushed over towards his partner. As Sasuke saw Kiba not focusing, not even paying him any attention, as he smashed his foot in Kiba's face. A dirty move. Kiba slammed into the wall as he fell unconscious. As Naruto jumped down into the arena, "What the hell are you doing?" he asked. Sasuke turned towards him in confusion. "What are you talking about?" As Naruto snarled, "He wasn't attacking you. He was just gonna see if his partner was okay." "Whatever," said Sasuke. As Naruto's fist started to tighten a bit, until his hand was grabbed by Tayuya, who gave him a stern look. "We don't have time for this, Naruto. Mota and Dog will be fine. Just come on," she said. As she led him across the room, he was so surprised by her using his name. But Naruto broke away from her as he made his way towards Kiba as he was being picked up by the medics. He picked up Akamaru and placed him on Kiba's chest. Tayuya came over as she saw her name. "Well, it seems like it's my time, shithead," she said. As she walked out into the arena, as Naruto made his way upstairs, momentarily forgetting about his anger towards Uchiha. "Yes, I will make you proud, guy sensei." As Naruto looked at the boy, it was Lee. She was going up against his boy with the green spandex. As Tayuya seemed weirded out by the two strange affection towards one another, but she dropped into her taijutsu stance as she prepared herself. But this was really not one of her strong suits, taijutsu. Lee turned to face her. "Yush! I have found the most beautiful and fierce challenger today," he said, as everyone's jaw dropped. When Lee got a goofy smile on his face. "Will you be my girlfriend?" he announced. As he got close to her, only for her to kick him right in the face, knocking him across the room. "What the hell are you talking about, shit for brain?" said Tayuya. Lee climbed out of the crater that his body made, as he was perfectly unscathed. "Whoa! You burned a youthful passion I've never seen before. Very well, we shall fight instead." Hayate told him to begin, as Tayuya shot across the room. But to her surprise and shock, he dodged every single one of her blows without even breaking a single sweat. "Ah, you fight with so much passion, just like you speak. You truly are a worthy foe." Tayuya scowled. Normally, so having someone dodge her in taijutsu wouldn't be that, well, aggravating, as there was many people that were better than her in taijutsu. What really got to her though was that he had his hands clasped behind his back the entire time. He didn't make a single move to go on the offensive. "Why aren't you attacking, shithead?" Lee jumped away as he looked at her curiously. "I do not understand. It will be against my code to harm such a beautiful and youthful woman." "What? What are you talking about? How are you supposed to defeat me if you aren't even going to attack?" she said. Lee seemed thoughtful as she went in to attack him while he was distracted, but he simply dodged each and every one of her attacks, still looking thoughtful at the moment. "That's it, screw this," she said as she reached back to her pouch to pull out her, but he was gone. She looked around. Suddenly her hands were bound behind her, tied in ninja wire. "Yush! I did it," Lee said as he looked up. "Have I made you proud, Guy Sensei?" Guy jumped down. "Truly an impressive match, Lee. You upheld your moral code and the honor of this young lady," as tears started to leak from his eyes. As he led him away, Tayuya stood there, confused. "What the—" As she moved forward, but she fell down, not noticing her legs were tied as well. As Naruto jumped down, "Shithead, if you don't get me into this wire in 5 seconds, I'm gonna—" Naruto knew that this would come back to bite him in the ass, but he just couldn't help it. "Come on now, Tayuya-chan." "What's the magic word?" he said. Her eyes started to twitch violently as she looked like he was about to kill him. He pulled a kunai as he cut the wire, as he stepped back. To his surprise, she was smiling. Naruto was shocked. "Why, thank you, Naruto," she said. Naruto stepped back in utter fear. He's never felt so afraid before. This was beyond wrong. She was smiling and she was thanking him. What was she gonna do to him, he wondered. As the next names appear on the board, Tenten versus Gaara. Time skip. Naruto decided to put Lee between the both of them. She might take her anger out on him, and then, well, it would be less on him. But she just kept on smiling. Every single time. It was weird. He tried to take his mind off it and turn to the fight, but it was what he expected. Gaara was wiping the floor with Temari, almost literally. As his sand attack would send her skidding across the arena floor, and her weapons were nothing to Gaara, as his stand would block them rather easily. Eventually, she ran out of weapons, as her weapons just didn't come close to Gaara. Usually people would have gone into taijutsu or ninjutsu, but with grit, intelligence, and humility. She forfeited the match. As Naruto slowly turned his head to see Tayuya, still smiled at him. He couldn't take it anymore as he made his way over. Please, Tayuya, I'm sorry. Just get it over with. Just do what you have to do, he said, as she pointed towards the board. As Naruto realized that he was up, he jumped down into the arena, still thinking what she was planning to do. As he looked at the shinobi, he was average. It was the last member of Hinata team. Brown hair, average clothing, average height, average build. Hey kid, what's your name? Said Naruto. Huh? As Naruto smirked, it was so fun playing with people. Your name, that thing people used to refer to you. What is it? Said Naruto. What the hell is it to you? The boy asked. Naruto smirked. He was playing right into his hands. I have a list of the people I wipe the floor with, and I like to use names instead of descriptions. Hibiki Saito, the boy said. Add that to your new list of people that kick your ass. As Naruto simply smiled. Hayate then jumped away as he told him to begin. Neither of them moved, as Naruto had hoped that he had pissed off Hibiki for him to start the attack. But it seems like he did not. Well then, he might as well start as he channeled chakra to his hands. Seals start to show on his skin as two kunais appear in his hand as he tossed them. As Naruto watches Hibiki blurred out of sight, the kunai simply passing through him. As Naruto turned, still keeping his eye on Hibiki, thinking that it was a clone, but there was no one there. The clones smell like him. Clones weren't usually that accurate. Just to check once again, Naruto sent chakra towards the seal on his wrist as he tossed kunais towards him. Each one of them passed through Hibiki. Naruto simply smirked back. It's good to not let your opponent know that you are frustrated. As Naruto activated another seal, a different kunai popped out into his hand. He threw it lower, it passed through Hibiki and stabbed into the ground. Hibiki heard a hissing sound as he leaped away. Naruto smiled, at least he knew it wasn't a clone. Release, he said, as he tried to break the genjutsu. Only for Hibiki to smile. No, it isn't a genjutsu. Merely an ability of mine. He did not elaborate. Naruto dropped down to all fours, like the Inuzaka style. Hibiki also dropped into his stance. As Naruto moved off, Hibiki was surprised how fast he was before he made his body blur once again. As Naruto's fist passed right through him, but Naruto stabbed his claws in the ground and lashed out with a brutal kick. But the kick passed right through him as he blurred once again. As Naruto started to piece together what is going on, but he needed one more test just to be sure. As Naruto stand on both of his hands and let out barrages of kicks as they all went through the boy, as Hibiki kept on blurring away. As Naruto didn't stop his feet, and Hibiki was knocked away. As Naruto smirked as he flipped to his feet. So, it's some kind of vibration, he said. Hibiki got up, but he nodded, his eyes still burning towards Naruto. Yeah, that's right, I can expel chakra from my points in my body, from either side, moving myself enough to dodge blows or weapons. And it also have other uses as well, said Hibiki, as he suddenly rushed towards Naruto. As Naruto dodged each and every one of them, but the boy brought up an uppercut as Naruto blocked it with his forearm. As Naruto leaped away, something burned him bad. He rolled up the sleeve, and he saw friction burn a huge red mark on his arm. Like I said, other uses. I can use the points in my arm, vibrating them so fast, I can burn you as I hit you. As Naruto was getting rather frustrated, he didn't want to use any of his hard press techniques. He looked around as he saw a few rubble from Kiba and Sasuke match. He smirked as the boy kept on attacking him. When he attacked the boy, though, he blurred away. As Hibiki understand when Naruto stopped his punches and kicks, he needed to dodge as well. So at the moment, Naruto was not hitting him at all. Hibiki didn't smirk as suddenly another Hibiki appeared. The both of them started to attack him. It wasn't a clone as he could feel their move from their punches. As Naruto started to look him up and down, as his eyes clicked. Oh, so you finally figured it out. Yes, use number 3 of my technique. I can vibrate my entire body between 2 places, effectively, making a double of myself. Both of them blur as they fuse back into one another. Pretty useful, huh, when facing multiple opponents. As Naruto started to laugh, Hibiki was confused. This guy was losing. Why was he laughing? As Naruto burst out laughing loudly. Probably he knocked a few of his screws loose. He was probably getting insane. As Naruto then smirked. You know, there's a lot of trouble to go through to double yourself. I'm in a good mood today, so I'm gonna teach you a better way. As Hibiki was looking at Naruto, completely missed in the rubble behind him, transforming into a perfect clone of Naruto. "They're called shadow clones," said Naruto. Blam! The clone punched Hibiki in the back of the head, knocking him out with one blow. The original Naruto walked over as he shared a high five with his clone, as the both of them made their way towards the spectator area. Everyone is looking at him at first, shocked and then curious. The senseis, the Jonins, knew about the high chakra capacity it needs to learn that jutsu. As Naruto reached the end of the stairs, he saw Tayuya smiling. The clone poofed away. "Bastard," said Naruto, as he wished he could disappear like that. But luckily, he was saved as the winners were called down to discuss the placement for the finals. As Sarutobi explained to them about the matches 1 month from now and their placement. The first match will be Naruto versus Neji, Shino versus Dosu. That was one side of the bracket. The other side of the bracket was Shikamaru versus Lee, followed by Sasuke versus Gaara. The winners would then fight one another until it was just 2 components left from each bracket. As Naruto worked out the match, that means he would have to fight Gaara. He smirked. It was bad that Tayuya wouldn't be able to progress, but the tuning exams were every 6 months, so she will get another chance very soon. He smiled as all of them dispersed as he looked at his potential opponents, because in the end, he could end up fighting each and every one of them. For now, Neji was his main focus. He needed to find a way around his Jaiden stance, and also that rotation move of his. As him and Gaara joined Tayuya, he didn't look at her. She couldn't scare him with that smile if he could not see it. Even so, he could feel her gaze in the back of his head, and it was becoming unbearable. He managed to stay silent until they were out of force of death, and making their way back towards the Inazaka compound. He didn't know how, but he could tell that she didn't stop looking at him the entire way back. As he finally crumbled as he turned, as she was still smiling. "Okay, I'm sorry. I promise. I'll make it up to you, I swear," he said. As he rushed off towards the Inazaka compound, leaving behind a satisfied Tayuya and Gaara, who turned towards her. "You enjoy manipulating like that, don't you?" It wasn't really a question, but Tayuya smiled anyway. "Yep." Gaara looked at her, a smirk forming on his face. "You know, some people would call that sadistic," he said. She simply stuck her tongue out at him before rushing off near the location, as Gaara's smile did not waver, as he was happy that she didn't come out of the forest unfazed and changed by that mark. As he too ran after his friends. Time skip. Naruto was standing there. As Tayuya was playing her flute, she was up in a tree. As he remembered why she loved to play flutes. After all, he had told her back in the sun about a woman. She never really had any kids. And one night when her grandfather had came home drunk, she had to run away because he was getting rather abusive, even worse than before. It was really hard for her to talk about, but Naruto had stayed with her. And that woman was playing that music, and for some reason it just connected with her. And the woman started to show her how to play the flute, and from then on she liked to play the flute. As he was just standing there, listening to her play, lost into the melody. He wasn't even aware when it was finished. "Oi, shithead, you gonna stare at me all day like a pervert?" she asked. As Naruto snapped out of his daydream, as he hopped up in the tree beside her, as he pulled a scroll out of his back pocket, as he channeled some chakra and a plate appeared. Tayuya's eyes widened, as there was a plate of dango, as steam was coming from it. "You got me dango?" "Not just any dango, your favorite dango," said Naruto. "You couldn't have," she said. "Hanamai dango is impossible to get this time of year." As she took the plate, as the smell invaded her nose, as she started to devour the dango, as she gulped on the rest of it, as she was moving rather fast as she enjoyed these. They were rare, and they were hardly found out of their season, especially in the sand. "I hope this isn't the only thing you got me," she said. As Naruto simply smirked, this is why he always had a plan B. He was going to make up for his wrongs. As Naruto pointed towards the Hokage monument, she looked confused, until Naruto made that single hand sign, as she nearly coughed up what she was eating. "Do you like it?" he asked, as she noticed that the Hokages were painted with swirls. The fourth Hokage even had whisker marks like him, and they look kind of similar now that she looked at it. Tayuya swallowed, and Naruto feared that she didn't really enjoy his prank. But she burst out laughing, as it made him smile. As she calmed herself, wiping the tears from her eyes. "How did you manage to do that, shithead?" she said. Naruto simply shrugged. It was easy to set up a large transformation over the monument. Well, given that he had large chakra reserves, so he was fine. Please tell me that is long-lasting paint. As Naruto sighed, sometime he didn't take it far enough for her liking. Nah, it will come off once the rain falls, he said. He didn't want to be offensive after all, he only did it to see her smile. So mission accomplished. Oh well, nice work, Shithead, she said. Well, I guess that will do. As she pulled him closer into her embrace. She hated how cold it got in Fire Country, as the both of them sat there, just talking until Gar came for them. As Naruto was glad for the momentary distraction, because the next month was going to fill with training, pranks and, oh yeah, more training. Time skip, as Naruto walked around, as each step he made, the ground crunched, as it was currently filled with snow. Suddenly, something slammed into him, a snowball, as he saw the three kids, one of them the blue scarf, rush around the corner. Usually, he would have chased them down and buried them in snow by now, but the tranquility and the peacefulness of the place put him in a good mood. That and he had somewhere to be. As he made his way towards the Inazaka compound, wiping off the remaining snow, he looked around as he smiled, observing the festive, decorating home, as you could tell that they were celebrating Christmas. While the concept of Christmas was strange to him, it brought such a good mood to everyone. And also, there was also gift giving for Christmas. Seeing that in the sand, the place was rather hot. There wasn't any really snow, so they didn't see the point of doing Christmas. The first person Naruto found was Tatsumi, as she was in the kitchen along with Kurama, who had this big bowl of dog food, special Christmas kind, as he wanted to thank her for, well, letting him stay here. Hi, Mrs. Inazaka, said Naruto. She shook her head. What have I told you, pup? Just call me Tatsumi. As Naruto wasn't well sure about that. He wasn't one to address adults by their first name, not to mention it was incredibly kind of her to take him and his friends in. He wanted to give her respect, so he instead just diverted the topic as he pulled a scroll out of his pockets. Merry Christmas, he said, as he gave her a white ball. She looked at the ball, as she looked towards her companion, who she had for over 15 years now, as she couldn't remember the last time she just went out and played fetch. Thank you, Naruto, she said. This is very kind of you. It was a very thoughtful gift for someone who just knew her for a couple of weeks. That, or it was a really lucky guess. Have you seen Tayuya or Gaara? She was still looking at the ball as she shook her head. No, sorry. But they aren't in their rooms if that helped. I had Hana check on them a while ago. As Naruto nodded, well, he just started to look. Thanks anyway, he said, as he made his way out. As she remembered the last person to give her a gift, so thoughtful. As she smiled, she watched him leave. As Naruto saw Kiba while making his way as he unsealed a gift. Hey Kiba, he said. Kiba turned. Merry Christmas as he tossed something towards him. Kiba caught it as he saw Naruto leaving through the gates. As he smiled, then he looked down, a small frown coming on his face, as he looked at the packet of dog biscuits, before he laughed, as he simply shook his head. Meanwhile, as Naruto made his way to the guest house that the non-Konoha shinobis were staying in for Chunin exams, Temari and Kankuro could have gone home, but they decided to stay and cheer them on. And Tayuya came here to talk to Temari, while Gaara came to talk to his siblings. As Naruto made his way to Kankuro's room and he saw him working on Crow. Hey, what's up, Naruto? Naruto smiled. Nothing much. See Gaara, Temari, he asked. Sorry. They were here earlier, but I don't know where they're going. Temari might know though. Naruto turned to walk out of the room. Oh yeah, almost forgot, he said, as he unsealed Kankuro present. As Naruto gently made his way over to Kankuro with a vial of purple liquid as he placed it on the table. New poison. Merry Christmas, said Naruto. Usually when you got someone poisoned, they would be rather angry, but Kankuro was smiling from ear to ear. Thanks, Naruto was already gone. As Naruto arrived at Temari's door, he stopped at the handle. Remember the last time he came in without knocking, as he was happy for his healing factor that day. So he knocked, as he heard Temari's muffled voice. As he came in to see her putting some food away, she hated Konoha food. She preferred the sand cuisine, as it was quite amusing when she came to him to steal some food away when they were coming here. She also had her violin in her lap. Seemed like she was practicing. She and Tayuya were also competitive in music fields as well. What is it, Squirt? She said. Have you seen Gaara or Tayuya? He asked. Nah, but they were in here about 20 minutes ago. She smirked. Why? Are you gonna finally make your move on the little redhead? She asked. Funny, Tamara, he said. No, I just want to... Naruto paused. There he was forgetting things again. As he pulled out the scroll and unsealed Tamara present. It's a new sickle, he said. Do you like it? She looked it over, as she gave him a slow nod, before she smiled at him. She was always doing this. Well, thanks to the information, he said. See ya. And with that, he headed off. As Naruto started to track them by scent, as he picked up Gaara's scent, as he took off. As Naruto phoned Gaara at Ichiraku Ramen, he remembered that name from his past. Yeah, it said coming soon. He went and sat beside Gaara. Gaara didn't even move a muscle. It was like he was expecting him all along. Hey Gaara, said Naruto. Seeing Tayuya? As Gaara nodded, as he was still engrossed devouring the noodles. Seems like you really like ramen. She left, said that she was going to look for you. As Naruto sighed, he could have just stayed there. As he pulled out the present that he had for Gaara. Hey, I got a gift for you, said Naruto. Gaara understood the concept, but he was, well, not familiar with it. Naruto, we haven't celebrated Christmas before. Why have you gotten me a gift? Naruto simply shrugged. Why not, he said. It was a medium-sized cloth bag, as he handed it over to Gaara. Gaara reached inside and pulled out some of the dust. Gold dust, he said, as he looked towards Naruto. I knew you want to practice your dad technique, so he wasn't sure how to continue. The present was planned before. His father was killed, so he didn't know how Gaara would take it. But Gaara smiled. Thank you, Naruto. This is very, very kind of you, he said. Naruto moved forward and simply gave him a hug. As Gaara's stand has lowered its defensive against Naruto a long time ago. Merry Christmas, Gaara. Gaara nodded. I'm gonna find Tayuya, as Naruto headed off. As Gaara, just look at the sun, with a smile on his face. Time skip. 30 minutes went by and Naruto couldn't find her. He couldn't pick out her scent. As he made his way towards the Hokage monument, feeling like she might come here looking for him, or might take in the sight. As he went up there and sat down. As he smelled her, she was coming. She came over and sat down next to him, leaning her head on his shoulder. He shitted. I was looking for you all over the village. He chuckled a bit as she felt the vibrations from him. What's so funny? Well, I can say the same thing about you, he said. How so, she asked. As Naruto turned as he poked her on the nose, as she grumbled a bit. I'm not a shithead, he said. You'll always be a shithead to me. So why were you looking for me? As Naruto pulled out the scroll, as there was a poof, as he brought out her gift for her. It wasn't a replacement flute after all. He was the one that bought the first one for her, and she loved it. And it was a sentimental present. And he was always happy, seeing how happy it made her. What he gave her was a red pouch that was the same color of her hair, without replacing the flute itself. He figured that this was the next best thing. It was in good condition, brand new, something her old pouch could not say. She almost looked like she would tear up, but she held back the tears as she looked down, feeling so, well, happy. But there was something else, a black beanie. As Naruto wasn't one for fashion, but as he knew that it would be perfect for her when he saw it. She took off her headgear and placed on the black beanie over her ear. It fit perfectly. Thanks, Naruto, she said. As she turned her head, he made this nice, heart-filled gesture, but she had nothing to give in return. As she was thinking in her mind, what to do. What did friends give one another on Christmas? What did girls give guys? It's alright if you didn't get me anything. That's not really the point, said Naruto. She wanted to roll on him angrily. She hated how perceptive he is sometimes. As she thought about something to do, something came to her mind, something that would shut him up and solve the gift given at the same time. As Naruto had his eyes closed, as he was smiling, as he felt something press up against his lips, his eyes opened wide. As Tayuya pulled back. Tayuya, he said, as he was shocked. As she turned her face to not show her red face. Merry Christmas, Naruto, she said, in a soft tone. Before he could say anything, she stood up and jumped off the monument, as Naruto's brain was still trying to process what happened. Merry Christmas, Tayuya, he said. But guys, I'm gonna be ending this episode right here. If you enjoyed this and want to see the next part, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notifications they posted. But more for now, see you guys soon. Peace.